So hello everyone, my name is Sergei, as I've been introduced. I've been in Indonesia for about 9 years now. I've been in IT for nearly 20. I've started from a pretty low level position. I think my first job was like a web designer. Everybody still remembers that? So, and I've gone through many different roles and positions over time. I've been a programmer analyst and a solution architect and sysadministrator, network administrator. I've done product management, project management. I've done pre-sale, post-sales, tech support even. So I've done quite a bit of stuff, and eventually I landed in Indonesia. I think maybe some of you have seen me before here at different presentations. I do work at Traveloka right now, but that doesn't really matter for what I'm about to talk about. There is not going to be no slides, by the way, so I'm not going to fiddle with that. And I should apologize. I know I'm speaking in English, probably going to be talking fast. We don't have a lot of time. Maaf ya. Bahasa Indonesia saya kurang bagus ya. Maaf. So it will be mostly in English, and I will do this a little bit differently from other presenters. I will spend a lot of time talking to you folks. I'm going to let you ask questions. Okay, so I'm going to quickly run through my points, no slides, and then please do ask questions. So I'm going to have people with microphones on both sides, so just raise your hand. In fact, even while I'm talking, you feel like, no, this guy is talking complete nonsense, and it's like, no, I don't understand. Just raise your hand. I might stop and pick up your question, okay? Does that work for you? Yes. Everybody's awake? Yes. Sort of. Like, mungkin ya, sebentar. Okay, let's try. So, you probably read my sort of not announcement, description of the talk. So I said, as we were trying to read it by letter, so you think you can code was the idea. Right? Oh, yeah. So there's, I'm a dancer by trade originally, so part of my life was actually spent dancing. So you think you can dance was a show on American television. Maybe you guys seen it? Yeah, I know, I fail on that joke. Anyway, so the point there is how to build applications that deliver value. And I've looked at a lot of presentations happening today, and I've been observing community in Indonesia and outside, and what seems to be taking a lot of focus, and I think is a problem, is tool worship, right? What I mean by that, and when I say tool, I don't mean just like, oh, okay, I have Kubernetes, or I have Golang, or I have something else. By tool, I also mean things like frameworks, things like, general concepts, like, oh, AI/ML, or what's the most common silly one? Bitcoin? Blockchain, right? So sometimes we get really obsessed with the idea of what the tool is and try to substitute the usage or learning of the tool for the actual reason why we're using those tools. So sometimes you will see people, oh, I just want to learn Kubernetes because that's going to be the thing that's going to drive my company forward and is going to guarantee success of my business. Nonsense. Sorry, was that a question? No, okay. Yeah, it's just trashing, right? Yeah, that's cool. So I think that's crazy. Gila, that's crazy. One particular tool, or even let's say we're talking Agile or DevOps, those concepts alone do not guarantee success of your business, or your career, or your development. I know it's a bit confusing, and I can sort of understand why this is happening. I think in a lot of it, it's fault of people like myself sometimes, or in some cases investors. Because investor says, okay, hey, they have a blockchain in their name, I better invest money into that company, right? How many times have you seen this? Like, oh, it says blockchain, here's my money. Sometimes it would be like, oh, okay, I'm hiring a bunch of DevOps engineer that know CI/CD, that can be agile and can, what else? Yeah, and can make sure my company just wins everything. We're just going to capture the market, right? I just need to hire a bunch of those guys and we're done. How many of you seen that happen, and actually every company that has DevOps, Kubernetes, CI/CD, and Agile methodology actually wins in this game? Probably not that many. All right, so the point is, those things are important, but not the most important thing. And I've been observing too much of this obsession lately in different levels, and that worries me. And when I know this conference, right? I've been presented this before, and I think it's a great event because a lot of you folks are engineers, solution software architects, etc. You come here, you want to do something. Why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you here, sir?
You want to get lunch?
He wants to get free lunch. Totally. I do that too. I come to the events like free food, awesome. But I mean, other than free food, why else? Why are you here? New perspective. Why do you want new perspective?
Because I want to know that if what we have been doing is really best practice.
What is best practice? No, I mean best, right? I think there was a great presentation earlier. Anjana, I think is the name. I don't know how to pronounce it well. She said, here's all these patterns. Which one is best? Right? So what is best practice? Which one actually best? Like, I'm not arguing with you, by the way. Getting new perspectives totally makes sense, right? This is why we come to these events, right? We want to learn new things. But the question is why? Why do you want to learn new things? To get best practices. Let's say there is such thing. Why do you need to know what the best practices are? I'm going to put him on the spot. Next person, please. No? Anybody wants to answer my question? I'm going to make you guys volunteer for me. Anybody? Yes, please. Because you want to solve a problem. Interesting. In fact, I very much agree with you. I think that's the whole point of this role and this position. And as a matter of fact, that's the whole point of those tools that we adore so much. We want to solve problems with that, right? So I believe, argue with me if you don't agree, I believe the engineer's job is to solve problems. That's what we're good at. That's what we like doing. That's why we learn to find best way to solve problems, right? We want to figure out, use our knowledge, our experience, our understanding of technology, different tools, to solve problems. Now, what kind of problems? That's my next question. Because different kind of problems, right? I mean, I'll give you an example. So, sitting in the meeting room discussing some, I don't even remember the exact detail, it doesn't matter. The point is like, we have issue. We're going to build a super complicated solution because that's what we do as engineers. Because we have these all complicated technical problems, we're going to like put all these pieces together, assemble them into something very scary, complicated, unreliable, but it's going to solve our problem. And I looked at him like, hold on a sec, but which problems are we solving exactly? The technical problems, or are we actually trying to do something that helps our business, our company, solve the problem? And that's kind of the main point. So this is why I'm here. And I think I'm going to open up very soon for questions because I think I made my main point. So tools by themselves are useful. Tools, specific tools that say we're going to solve all your problems, they're lying to you. This is something, again, we can argue about later. I don't believe there is a tool, framework, idea, concept. Okay, ideas, concept maybe, but something that can solve all of your problems, especially business problems. So I believe tools solving technical problems. What I also believe that engineers should be solving business problems. Now that might be not a popular opinion as well. Because often I've heard people, no, I'm just a technical person. Don't tell me about the business, don't tell me about the cost, don't tell me about this stuff. Just give me the requirements, and I'll build it for you, because that's what I do as an engineer. Wrong. I disagree completely. And again, I'm welcoming your questions later. If you want to argue with me about this, please do. I believe engineers, architects need to understand what business problems are they going to solve. They need to know their tools, yes, so they can select the best options in order to solve business problems. And that's my point. Now, who has questions? Wow, I'm so good. Everybody agrees. Anybody? All right. Do you guys want to know my opinion how we should be solving business problems? Do you agree that we should be solving business problems? Yes, please. Do you have a mic? It's okay. I can hear you from here.
Yeah, business problems. We can try to solve it. But what about the problem that the team itself has in the internal company, such as the problem that Suchi is having in their internal problem in their internal team. They are having a problem when the identifier of the selector of the testing is actually missing or something like that. There is actually a
technical problem.
Trending problem, right?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
excellent. No, that's an excellent question. So the question was, business problems are important, right? I mean, and frankly, yes, they are technically the most important ones because if your business is not successful, you don't have a job, right? If you don't have a job, you cannot solve technical problems because your business ran out of money. Bye-bye. So, but it's a very valid question. But what about issues within the team? What about, let's say, efficiency of our testing, right? What about, I know there was some comments about technical debt. What about our technical debt? It's slowing us down. Shouldn't we solve those? Yes. You know why? Those are business problems. And the point what I'm actually going to try and maybe help you folks with is how to connect and explain it to the business people that the technical problems that you're facing, be it inefficient testing that takes you too long to actually ensure the quality of the software that you're building, is actually a business problem. He started talking about this, but he ran out of time, unfortunately. Right? I think the nice slide at the very end of the whole pattern thing was actually how to connect your technical issue, your velocity, your number of errors that you release into production, number of bugs that you actually deploy that facing the customers, the time you spend on resolving those issues, testing, technical debt removal, how to translate that into business meaning, right? That's a challenge. And that's actually the challenge that I think I should have asked at first, actually. How many of you engineers, developers, architects, technical people, raise your hand, please? All right, very good. How many of you like, yeah, I'm sort of technical, but I'm also a manager and a leader, and I do a lot of other stuff? Cool. And the business people are like, yeah, I'm a project manager. I just talk to the tech dweebs and tell them what to do, basically. Couple. But thank you for coming. See, those are the good ones. They're here. They actually want to learn from us. So most of you are technical people, and we as technical people are not used to talking to business. This is a skill that we're not taught, but it's a skill, especially from engineers and architects, is, I think, very, very important and valuable. So when you say, I have a technical problem, you need to explain to your business folks how it's a business problem, right? And I think metrics, what I like about like DevOps ideas at least, is that monitor, collect metrics, collect data. What I like from Scrum and Agile is that, hey, it's imperative. We look at the data, we look at the results of the experiments, we make conclusions, we make changes based on that. This is all great, but it needs to be more than just a technical thing. It needs to be something that you can actually confront your business leaders, your product managers, your product owners with, and say, look, this is not just a technical issue, this is a problem for our business, because if we have a lot of technical debt, if we're constantly releasing bugs in production, that affects business. That's not just my engineering desire to make things better. No, I want to make things better for our business, right? So we're more successful, so we have more customers. We can, get a ping pong table in our office. What else? That was a great question. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
I'm cold, by the way. Sorry. Okay. Here's the problem. I think it is really hard to communicate sometimes with the business people.
Yes.
They don't know the technical problems, and we engineer, we don't know the business problem.
Yes.
So sometimes they require us to make some things it's not feasible to build. It's too impossible. Build chatbot, they can answer everything. We can't do that. I mean, they have to know why we can't do that. You know.
Right. Sorry. What's your question?
My question: how can we make a bridge to know each other between business and engineer? Because they are kind of different world, you know.
That's a very good question, and I think this is the question that's out there, right? So, how do we communicate to them? How do we explain to them why these things that we worry about are important for them? They don't understand us, right? The business people. In a way, right? And I can totally understand. I can totally see why. Like, I'm a very technical person, always has been. But I often come into the meetings from so many teams, like we would have design reviews, discussions, and the first thing they start telling me, I'm going to illustrate by example, is like go into very technical details of why this solution is that they're building. And I'm like, dude, stop. I don't care. Simplify it for me, dumbify it for me, make me understand the point. Why is it that you're doing what you're doing? Why are you going so deep into the technical to look for some solution? What's the actually behind it? What's driving it? Step backwards a little bit. Like, take a wider view of the problem. A lot of times, this is our problem as technical people. This is my problem. I do this all the time as well. We get so close to the problem, we forget why we got in there in the first place. We start looking at extremely technical aspects of the problem and solution, and we completely forgot what was the reason we started looking at it originally. Business people, they look at it a different way. They're like, hey, I have profits, revenues, I have market capture. This is the big picture for me, right? You guys telling me about, oh, it's, you know, like it's I/O, multi-thread, and yada, yada. I'm like, dude, lost me. No idea what you're talking about. I'm falling asleep. So, answer to your question. They have difficulty understanding us because we're not speaking the language. We have difficulty speaking their language because we don't understand them. We need to meet in the middle. You're absolutely correct. There needs to be an understanding. The good business leaders will come to you and they will try to understand your technical problem as well. I'm not saying all of them are good, but a lot of them need to be. I mean, in my experience, the bad ones don't survive very long. Businesses with bad business leaders don't last. Right? So it's like evolution in a way. So if they do come to you, try to take their point of view. Engineering is actually all about empathy. It's not about solving technical problems. It's about empathy. You need to understand who you're solving the problem for. That could be business. That could be your colleagues down the road. You could be ops, they could be dev, right? We need to have empathy. We need to try and meet them in the middle, try to understand what is their concern, what are they looking for, what's the value they're trying to create, right? Then we can start saying, okay, now I understand your requirements. Let me see what I can do as a technical expert. You don't need to know what implementation I'm going to build. Trust me on this. But first, before I start building it, let me understand why you're trying to do this, what problem you're trying to solve, how does this bring value to us, to our company, to our customers. That's probably the most important part, the thing you might want to learn. I know it's hard. I know we're not used to doing it. Traditionally, we just get our requirements, go. You got 30 days. But it's changing. Look, it's Agile, it's Scrum now. We are now sitting together, hopefully with the product owners together in the same room. We can ask them anything we want. They're supposed to be there to answer our questions. We do need to ask the right questions, obviously, yes. We cannot ask them, okay, which database do you want to use? I don't care. Just make sure it's fast enough and it doesn't drop every 5 seconds, right? Okay? I don't know, did I answer your question? Sort of? Yeah, I tend to ramble, I'm sorry. Next. Somebody else. I still have 5 minutes. Come on, guys. Folks. Oh, yes, thank you. Sorry, I saw you there too. I'll be right back. I can hear you. I can repeat your questions. Just yeah.
Hopefully everyone can. That's okay. Maybe let me reverse the condition.
Okay.
We, as an engineer, sometimes we realize that there is a problem that perhaps it affects the business itself. In the big team, perhaps there kind of problem that it creates so many bugs, and we have to resolve it, and we think it already disrupt our business process. So, as an engineer, how do we convey to the business people or even to our leaders that these things needs to be solved and we have to prioritize it, because most of the time product people, they always push us to create more and more features. Right?
Yeah. I want the feature now.
Yeah.
Yesterday. Yes.
That's my question. Thank you.
Very good question. Excellent question. And that's exactly what I would expect. I think most of the engineers here who've worked and long enough time in a company, in a business, it's like, yeah, I already can see when the problems are happening. I have enough experience of seeing how the story ends, right? They already know, but they're like, okay, how do I convince my stakeholders? How do I convince my business people, even my leaders, let us prioritize this, right? Easy. Seriously, if you're working for a for-profit company, money. Convert it into money. That's my rule number one, convincing business stakeholders. Describe it to them in a way that basically says it's about the money. Show it in the form of profits, show it in the form of losses. This is how much money we're going to lose if we don't fix this. This is how much loss opportunity cost, or what cost of opportunity or potential revenue profits loss is going to happen if we're not going to update this. That's what business understands. It's all about money. So we just need to be able to give them data that confirms that point, that they trust that data. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. And this is sometimes where we miss things out. I know we don't like documenting things very often. Like collecting data points is like, how's our efficiency, how's our velocity? I mean, this guy is a Scrum Master, he knows, right? It takes a lot of effort to actually get people into that. Like, why do you want to know how many data points or how many story points I've completed this week? Are you going to penalize me for not completing that many? I don't trust you. It's going to be a punishment for me if I don't do so many story points, right? It takes a little time to break that and to gain that trust. But those data points can be converted into. Yes. Those are very valuable data points, because if you can actually show your leaders how much time has been lost by your team by fixing the bugs they could have prevented in the first place, by removing the legacy or streamlining, refactoring the code so it's easier to maintain, right? You can show it with data. If you show them with data and convert it into cost, convert it into profits, no business would say, no, this doesn't make sense, go deploy another feature where I have questionable value, versus I have guaranteed profits here, or recovery of the losses, right? Same thing applies to security. I don't know if anybody planning to ask that question. Security, like, how do I show that? That's simple, that's risk. You don't close your risk, you lose money. That's losses. So profits, losses, money, convert it. So that's why, yes, we as engineers will need to learn a little bit more about business, but what business values and so on. Yes?
We are engineer guy, and for the
Yeah.
guy who means engineer and escalate something technical debt to business.
Yeah.
And you understand that technical debt is important. People think like, and we never do.
Okay, and your question? How to prioritize the technical debt?
The agile have empathy and do it voluntarily inside other story. Is it a healthy practice? We work the technical debt into another story, so that our product or business do not know that we work the technical debt.
Okay, this is wrong. I'm sorry. So I'll repeat the question. So product manager or team lead or whatever, Scrum master, whatever your role is, right? So we have a team, we have technical debt, we know we need to fix the technical debt, we put it in a backlog, we never get around to it because it's deprioritized, right? So yes, we might have the empathy, we know it's important, but we still cannot convince the business to let us prioritize technical debt removal, right? Technically, it's the same question I answered earlier. That means your data points are not convincing enough. You're not presenting the right data points. If you say, I have a lot of technical debt, yeah, so that's your problem. Be a better engineer. Why should I care? I'm a business person. I care about the profits, margins, and revenues, right? Your technical debt is your issue. So you need to convert it into different metric. Don't talk about, I have technical debt. Talk how this technical debt affects business. You need to convert it into different value, right? I know it's challenging. You do need to think a little bit like a finance person. I know that's scary, right? It's like, ugh. All right, sorry, I'm out of time. Last question. Anybody? Yeah. Can we have a mic there, please?
Yeah, you're going to be doing great.
One short question. Let me give you a case. What if the business people actually blames the system or the technology people because they couldn't properly use the system or maximize the benefit, while we already built a robust and dependable system?
Sorry, can you repeat that a little bit closer to yourself?
Okay. Let me give you a case. What
Yeah.
if we already built a robust and reliable system, but for some reason, sometimes the business people actually tend to blame the technology side for their inability.
Okay, I get it. So the question was like, oh, but we built a great system. It's amazing. It's like the culmination of our work, our talent, our capabilities. We built this beautiful system, but the business people don't get it. Don't get it or don't value it or don't recognize it, right? Or they say, no, it's not really good because I'm not getting my profits and my margins and my revenues, right? Is that the case? Because there could be different reasons why business doesn't recognize the value of your system. But kind of is the same reason. The reason they don't recognize the value of the thing that you built is because it's not the same value most of the time. The values that they had in mind, the requirements they had in mind, are different from the ones that you've built. That's actually the problem we're trying to solve in my company right now as well. That's a very common problem. How do you understand the business requirements really well? How do you make sure that what you're building is actually what needs to be built? And that's a challenge. That's a challenge. And that, again, comes from the conversation, from communication between the business people and the technical people together, right? If you receive a list of requirements from your business person and they say, go ahead, build, you're doomed to failure. Mic drop, that's it. Like, that's what I'm going to say. You need to work with them. Say, okay, I want to clarify these requirements. I want to make sure I fully understand what is it that you need me to build. How does this deliver value? Sometimes it's not even like what you want me to build, but why you want me to build it, right? As an engineer, I hope you often ask this question, why? Why do you want this, right? They say, I want this. Cool, I can build this, but why? What's the point? What are you trying to achieve? What is the value you're trying to create? When you start asking those questions, usually you understand much better what they need you to build. Often it's different things. What they say they want and what they mean could be different things, which is why is super important, which is why we need to talk to each other, we need to understand each other better. We need to also explain to them why certain things they want might not be practical, achievable, ridiculously expensive, which basically violates that original idea that they've had. Because again, they don't understand technology as well as we do. They expect us, hopefully, to tell them what's possible, what's not possible, what's doable, what's not doable, or what's doable but ridiculously expensive to do, right? So we don't build something amazing that they don't want. So I hope I answered that question. Thank you very much, folks. It was a pleasure.